You ever wonder how one person's work with something as simple as a mushroom could end up transforming an entire community? I know, it sounds like something out of a storybook, but this is a real story. It's about how one dedicated scientist created this incredible ripple effect that literally changed thousands of lives. So, let's dive right in.
Okay, look at this number, 10,000 plus. Now that's not just a statistic, that's 10,000 people. We're talking farmers, entrepreneurs, whole families whose lives were turned around by this one single project. Over 10,000. It's a staggering figure, and believe it or not, it all started with the humble mushroom.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth is this possible? How does a simple fungus become the catalyst for such massive, widespread change? Well, the answer doesn't start in the soil. It actually starts in the classroom.
Yeah, this whole transformation, it definitely didn't happen by accident. It was a very deliberate, planned-out effort to take all this cutting-edge knowledge from the laboratory and put it directly into the hands of the people in the community.
Get this, over 250 training programs were conducted, not just on a university campus, but out in the communities too. Just think about the sheer scale of that for a second. This wasn't some one-off weekend workshop. This was a sustained, long-term commitment to empowering people through education. And these were not your basic Intro to Mushrooms classes. No way. The training was incredibly comprehensive. We're talking about the whole shebang, from the deep science of mushroom taxonomy and how to produce your own spawn, all the way to the super practical skills of cultivation, managing pests, and even something called value addition, which is just a fancy way of saying they learned how to turn their raw mushrooms into more valuable, profitable products.
And the results? Well, they were absolutely transformative. This wasn't just theory people were learning. It was empowering them to literally build their own futures. People who went through these programs started their own mushroom farms, their own spawn production units. They became entrepreneurs and started creating jobs right there in their own communities.
But here's the thing. You can have the best training in the world, but it needs a rock-solid scientific foundation. So behind all of this amazing community outreach were years of dedicated research and some pretty major breakthroughs.
This right here was a total game changer. For the very first time in India, 3 new species of edible oyster mushrooms were identified. Now, this wasn't just some cool academic discovery. It literally expanded the menu of what farmers could grow, creating brand new opportunities out of thin air. Okay, the scientific names are Pleurotus opuntii, Pleurotus jamor, and Pleurotus tuber regium. And while those names were a big deal in the scientific community, for the farmers, they meant something much more practical. New products, new flavors, and you guessed it, new sources of income.
And it wasn't just about discovering new species, it was also about developing better versions of existing ones. So, meet Bheema. This isn't just any old milky mushroom. It's a special high-yielding variety specifically bred to maximize the harvest. For a farmer, that's a simple and powerful equation. More mushrooms from the exact same amount of space and effort. That means more income. It's a win-win.
This next innovation was built on a simple but honestly brilliant idea, transforming waste into wealth. The idea was to use coir pith, a really common agricultural waste product, to produce both mushrooms and manure. This insight was so revolutionary, it actually won a prestigious national award.
So here's how this award-winning process works. It's beautiful in its simplicity. You start with coir pith, basically coconut waste, which there's a ton of in the region. You use this so-called waste as the growing medium for mushrooms, and the result is this perfect, sustainable cycle. You harvest valuable food, and the leftover stuff becomes a nutrient-rich organic manure. It is the absolute ultimate example of turning trash into treasure.
So, you've got this groundbreaking science, you've got effective community training, but how do you make sure that all this amazing knowledge actually spreads and lasts? Well, you share it in 2 very different but equally important ways. And this is where it gets really smart. For the academics and scientists around the world, 52 different research articles were published in peer-reviewed journals. That ensures the work is validated and shared on a global scale. But, and this is just as crucial, a book on mushroom cultivation was published in Malayalam, the local language. This made all of that vital knowledge directly accessible to the farmers and growers right there on the ground. An impact of this magnitude doesn't just happen. You know, it's driven by a real person with a clear vision and an incredible amount of dedication. So let's finally meet the scientist at the very heart of this story. This is Dr. Geetha D. Her 35-year career as a professor at Kerala Agricultural University is the foundation that all of this was built on. And it was never just about the research for her. It was about teaching, about mentoring the next generation of scientists, and about providing constant, hands-on advice to farmers, even making regular field visits to solve their problems directly. Her amazing work culminated in recognitions like that Vasudev Award, a perfect testament to a career spent bridging the gap between the lab and the land.
You know, Dr. Geetha's legacy is such a powerful reminder that incredible value is often hidden in plain sight, in the things we throw away, in the biodiversity right under our noses. It leaves all of us with a really important question. What waste in our own world is just sitting there, waiting for a new purpose?